Good evening, Garden City. I'd like to call to order regular City Council meeting for Monday, April 22nd, 2024 at 7 p.m. First order of business is our opening ceremony, which consists of national anthem, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence for those service members who have given their lives for our country. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Mr. Smith, if you'll take roll, please.
Mayor Jacobs.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Joel.
Present.
Councilmember Chair Fotis. Councilmember Squires.
Here.
Councilmember Earl.
Show Councilmember Earl absent and excused.
Councilmember Witt. Here. Councilmember Lynch. You have a quorum of 6.
Thank you. Item 4 is the approval of the agenda.
Mayor,
Councilmember Witt.
I make a motion to approve the Monday, April 22nd, 2024 meeting agenda as presented.
Support.
Support from Councilmember Lynch. Further comments from the table? From the public? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Item 5 is recognition. It is Motorcycle Awareness Month, and I will read that. This is a resolution of recognition for Motorcycle Awareness Month. Whereas the City of Garden City has many citizens who are concerned about motorcycle safety for touring, recreation, and economical transportation, and whereas May is the nationally recognized month, motorcycles become more prevalent on our streets. The need to be aware of their presence is of the utmost urgency. And whereas, due to the Pure Michigan advertising campaign and the modification of the Michigan helmet law, many more out-of-state motorcycle riders are visiting our state and using our roads. And whereas an overwhelming number of motorcycle accidents could be avoided with due regard, respect, and awareness of motorcycles on the streets and intersections of our city. And whereas it is in the interest of our community and the citizens of Garden City to note increase in the amount of motorcycle traffic as we enter the warm weather months, to enable the reduction of accidents and injuries involving motorcycles. Whereas the Garden City American Legion Post is the founding chapter of the American Legion Riders and has many riders in our community. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of Garden City does hereby, on this 22nd day in the month of April in the year 2024, proclaim May 2024 as Motorcycle Awareness Month. Do we have, I don't see any state or county officials. Item 7 is a presentation of our managerial audit from Plant Moran on the fire department, and I believe Mr. Scott Patton is here.
Hi, good evening. Thanks, Mayor and Council. In addition to myself, Ashley Rose, my colleague, will be doing a little bit of the presentation. And we're going to keep things at a pretty high level. If it's your standard to ask questions throughout the presentation, that's fine, or we can just take things at the end, whichever you prefer. So just a quick recap as far as process goes. We had an engagement letter that we signed just before the holidays with you that specified that the work that we would do, but also noted that one of the charter requirements for the city is doing a managerial audit periodically, and so this is the scope that council had decided to do. So we did that. We kicked things off, met with Chief Keen several times, met with the city manager several times in order to mostly gather information, do some interviewing as well. We looked at 5 years worth of data in the past that we pulled directly from the system. Chief Keen provided that information to us, very responsive to any sort of request for information that we had, and so we're very appreciative of that. And over the course of the time, there was review and analysis with the chief around some procedural things, and when we saw gaps, we wanted to walk through with him prior to really having significant findings or anything. So the product of that is just a memo that for council here, just a few pages long, but we did want to just highlight there are 3 big conclusions as a result of our analysis. One of which is just a simple quality of data itself conclusion, and if you're following along in the paper, this is all covered on the first page. 3 major points. But the first one is that how data is recorded in the fire department has been inconsistent. Ashley will share a little bit as far as the why for that. We'll explain that in a moment, but through those conversations that we've had with the chief throughout, he has taken some steps to address those already, so I'll let him speak to that specifically. But because there's inconsistent data entry, due in part to that gap, it does, the data that has been presented to council and to the public before indicates that the aid that is given by Garden City outpaces what is received by Garden City by about a 3-to-1 margin. So, we can't answer the question of how much of that gap is due to the data entry issue, how much of it is due to, actual calls and things like that. But that's a big point there. And so the third thing is that, we did look at, all of the information that had been presented to council in the past, to the city manager in the past, and then looked at the data itself in the system. And there was one case that we found where a report just didn't match up that was presented to council, just didn't match up with what was in the system at all. But it was only one isolated thing, so I wouldn't give that much, pay much attention to that particular case. So I suggest just ignoring that one thing. But it is a finding, something that we found. So so that's kind of what we did. I'm going to turn it over to Ashley to cover a little bit of the why. And a little bit as far as findings. Then we can, again, take questions for you after.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, like Scott said, my name's Ashley Orris. Thank you for having us tonight. If you look on, in the memo, the last couple pages, we have some process maps laid out. So it kind of tracks the life cycle of an incident. I spoke with Randy every week for about a half hour, so he kind of was able to answer some questions and kind of walk me through a lot of the data systems. So you can see that when an incident is reported through dispatch, it starts off in Clemis, which is the CAD system. And then some of that data is then funneled into BRICS, which is the reporting system, which notifies the firehouse, to dispatch someone and, the different crew over there. Once the incident is then completed, then the incident has to be closed out in emergency reporting, which is the database system. So one thing that we noted in here, that data entry has not been consistent. But a lot of that is due to the fact with emergency reporting, so like the FDID number of a firehouse, if Garden City were to administer aid, that's automatically captured, but that box actually doesn't pop up if you guys received aid. So we don't know sometimes if someone was pulling a report, if they maybe were filtering out all the unknown variables. So yeah, we listed in here some solutions, and Randy and his crew have found a workaround. So they have like a little comment box that they'll enter in the FDID number. So we thought a solution to all that could be, standardizing the data. In the interim is like a short-term solution. And then a long-term solution would be when you guys migrate to the new data system, because emergency reporting was bought out by a new vendor. It's called ESO, and their specialization is data. So I'm sure that there's got to be a way, in there to remedy this issue and, clear up a lot of this reporting mistakes. And then, training as well. So just again, like keeping everything as consistent as possible. So when one person's entering an incident, it's consistent among all the staff. And I think that was pretty much it as far as the process maps. Like I mentioned, some next steps, like we mentioned, we're migrating the data system to ESO, which Chief Keen is on. He mentioned Dearborn Heights is in the middle of an implementation themselves. So we noted that could be something that you guys could like maybe talk with them about, best practices, lessons learned throughout that life cycle, and then standardizing some of the data entry within the fire department. With that, I think Chief Keen, did you want to come up too? Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So, as these two spoke upon, I've taken some steps already. Part of it is a policy developed for data entry. We've started from the top, and we've been doing some training. It's ongoing. Obviously, we're finding some other issues that may be from the previous system. So what we've done is we've developed this policy to try and encapsulate all the data that we're collecting, number one. Number two, she mentioned the dissemination of it. We also have a policy that's we're working on, so if we pull data, that it's actually cited, so we know where it's coming from. So the possibility of having any of the other data that may be questioned would be possibly eliminated, or hopefully eliminated. The third thing is the migration to ESO. So the medical system that we're using is an ESO program. Emergency reporting was purchased a couple years ago. They are in the process of migrating everybody over. It's just going slower than planned. We actually have started that process already to help capture some of that data. We've started to mold that system, and we're supposed to be going live with it June 1st. So that system is already in place or becoming in place, and we're working on that currently. So those are the few things that we've kind of done to address this, just from the perspective that we've noticed throughout the findings here. It's shown some things that we could improve on. Yes, so, any questions? Or?
Okay, thank you. Council, do you have any questions?
Mayor, I do. So we did the whole audit, and we came up with, some of the data was incorrect because the fields aren't there, right? It's not us, it's not on a person, it's the data that they have can't get entered correctly.
So what they were speaking to on the FDID number, that's a unique number that every fire department has. So what happens is when we administer aid or we give mutual aid to a department or automatic aid, that number automatically opens up that we were required to put it in. Now, we always know where we're going to respond to. We know if we're going to a different community, we know that number. But sometimes when we do mutual aid or we receive mutual aid, we may be on another incident. We'll contact dispatch and say, hey, can you get us a mutual aid rescue? We may not always know if Westland or Wayne or whoever comes here to respond. So those boxes don't populate, number one. Number two, the reason that the box populates when you go there is we are required to report that to a national database. When we report it in, we put their FDID number along with an incident number. So like a large fire or something, our incident joins on theirs. So like same thing here, if we had a large incident here where other communities came in, they would put our incident number with our FDID number, and those reports would merge in the system for data collection purposes. So that's the reason why when you give it, it's mandatory. The benefit to this new ESO program is there's a field actually that we can check that makes it a mandatory field. So obviously I've already worked on that, and that will be required, along with some other things that are different that we can require. I think part of the issue with emergency reporting in the last couple of years is because it's been purchased and they're not continuing with it at some point. I don't think the resources have been put into that program. It's being maintained, it's being used, but compared to the ESO program that the same company owns both of them. They're putting all their money or all their efforts into the new program. So I think it'll be advantageous for us to migrate over there faster.
I have one more. So again, nothing our personnel did wrong, it's just on the computer and how it populates, right? So it's not something that...
Yes.
Okay.
It was the unknown. We didn't realize, obviously at this point, we didn't realize through these past 4.5 years or 4 years that we did this prior, that we weren't doing that. It was an unknown that we weren't aware of. How about that?
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
So now we know what the problem is, and we're already trying to fix it, we're already on top of it. What advantage of it, what is the advantage to it being corrected? Like, what do we use those reports for? Does it make us get more tax dollars from the state? What's the advantage of having this corrected?
It doesn't, but it allows for us to see where our resources are being utilized.
That's what I mean, there is an advantage.
So I know as part of this, one of the things we did is we also asked for another community to give us their information to verify it compared to ours. How many times we went there versus how many times they came to our community. And there was some differences in that as well. So I don't know if their system, what their flaws have in theirs, but there was some discrepancies there. I don't think they were as large as the ones we noticed. I think the thing you'll find if you really dig into the numbers is the unknowns were the missing numbers from the numbers that were kind of off. We didn't know who came here, so those weren't reflected in the report.
Okay. Did we know what the audit ended up costing?
Yeah, we haven't gotten a
Have
final
a bill?
invoice yet.
Okay, thank you.
And any other comments, questions? Council? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, item 8 is community events. Garden City Business Alliance President Jackie Peridor, business to business.
Hello, Mayor and Council. I just wanted to let everybody know we're doing a business-to-business open house May 13th from 11 to 3. That's on a Monday over at Radcliffe. That's 1751 Radcliffe. What it is services. So we'll have bookkeepers, tax pros, insurance agents, office suppliers, POS systems, the Small Business Association, and we're inviting everyone. Anyone can come and find out about these services, meet these people face to face. If you're a business owner, if you want to start a business, or just a resident, you need a tax preparer. It's nice to meet somebody face to face before you make an appointment. So that's what we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item 9, petitions and communications. We have a couple. Brian Marciniak, our global rating results.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As we went to bid earlier this month, we send out our information to get reviewed by Standard & Poor's, who typically rates bonds of this type. Once again, they rated us as an A+, as well as stable, which has been consistent with all the years in the past. So, and also they reaffirmed our current outstanding debt as the same as it was valued before. No change, A+ and stable.
Okay. Anyone have a question?
It's a week.
You might as well stay there for item B on that, the bid results from the unlimited tax generation.
So last week, we sold the first issue of the $7.5 million bonds for the roads with the help of Basinski and Company as local financiers, as well as our bond attorneys, Miller and Canfield. We sold these bonds to Braden Company at about 3.7%. So just to give you a brief description of how this process works. So it's a week or so out. They post this on other boards that we're looking to sell bonds. We told them we want to borrow $7.5 million and we're going to pay it back in this manner. So because we front loaded it, it was like 2.5, and then the next couple years was less in principal. Actually, it was nearly $3 million. So then they give it to their people to do all the calculations, come back and say, well, we're willing to either give you a premium or a discount, and what rate of interest they're going to give us. So then our bond guys, our financiers, they put it in their calculations and come up with an overall who offered the lowest interest rate on the $7.5 million borrowings. So it is a bid process, and by law, we're required to take the lowest bid. We actually had 8 bidders, which is actually a high number for these kinds, so they feel real good that we got, had a good selection of people that were looking at it. And there were 2 real close to the other one, so they feel we got a good bid. Did want to note, I'm sure some of you who watch the news did note that they are having some interest rates still at the moment and pushing out when they may reduce it, and I included some information, and we did sell them at a little higher price than we were hoping, but that had to do with what they call the yield curve. Interest rates just aren't going down right now. They even speculated it, and then they weren't going down, so they jumped back up on us. So we'll finish out the process. Closing will be on May 8th, and then they'll deposit the $7.5 million, plus we had a bit of a premium that was included in their bid, which is extra money above and beyond the $7.5 that we don't pay back, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. Anyone have any questions? Thank you. We have no public hearings tonight. Item 11 is our consent agenda.
Mayor,
Councilmember Witt.
I make a motion to approve consent agenda items A1 through 7 as presented.
Support.
Support by Councilmember Squires. Comment from the table.
Mayor, this is...
Councilmember Karfotis.
Sorry. Just so our residents are clear, we're not approving the budget, we're just receiving it, correct?
Correct. Any other questions, comments from the public?
Do we get to ask any questions on the previous presentation on the petitions and communications?
I'm sorry?
Do we get to ask any questions on the petitions and communications?
Oh,
The presentation that Brian just did?
So it's not, there's nothing they were being voted on
Right.
that.
Okay.
So it wouldn't be,
Okay. Received the fiscal year 24-25 proposed budget. We still have one more budget meeting to go, right, on the 29th?
Correct.
Okay, and there was nothing about the budget in the agenda packet? Did you receive something?
We received
the proposed budget.
Just the request?
Just now.
just
You
now.
received the budget, okay, thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Action items. Item 1 is hiring appointment of our Parks and Recreation Director, Mr. Doherty.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm very pleased this evening to request the City Council to approve the hiring of Erica Smith as the city's next Director of Parks and Recreation. Erica has a master's degree in Parks, Recreation, and Tourism from Michigan State University. That's all right. Notre Dame would have been better. She has also 25 years of involvement in recreational programming, youth sports, facility management, maintenance, community engagement, as well as international experience. She spent the last 10 years as recreation supervisor with the city of Ann Arbor here in Michigan. Before that, she led the Novi Parks Foundation. She was the assistant director in the city of Pleasant Ridge for about 8 years and also worked in Parks and Recreation in Ferndale. So in addition, Erica is certified Parks and Recreation executive, a CPRE, which is the highest certification anybody can receive in the Parks and Recreation industry. After spending time with Erica, as well as exposing her to the department directors of the city, and the growth opportunities available for Parks and Recreation in Garden City, it is my pleasure to bring forward Erica Smith's name to become the next Parks and Recreation Director of the city.
Okay. Motion is in order.
Mayor,
Councilmember Lynch.
I move to approve the hiring of Erica Smith as the new Director of Parks and Recreation.
Support.
Support by Councilmember Squires. Comment from the table. From the public. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Congratulations. Ms. Smith, if you'd like to come up and say anything. This is Miss Erica Smith.
Well, I would just like to say, Mayor and Council, thank you so much for this opportunity. I am super excited about joining the Garden City team, and, you know, I've had a chance to get to meet some of the staff, see the Radcliffe Center, see some of the parks, and what an exciting opportunity right now in this community, and I'm just really excited and looking forward to getting to work.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, item 2 is our fiscal year 23-24 budget amendment number 1. Mr. Marciniak.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. State of Michigan, quite a few years ago, put out a new a new chart of accounts that they wanted other municipalities to follow. Actually, this was even before pre-pandemic times, and then it was delayed and delayed and delayed, and now they're putting enforcement in on it. So we need to begin to follow the state chart of accounts. It's a big book, several hundred pages, with a lot of numbers in it that we're supposed to use for our accounting systems. That being said, it's been a long and tedious process. Nothing was easy. There's a lot of uniqueness to Garden City. But one thing that is going to be required for sure that the council will need to be involved in is an amendment to move the enterprise fund for garbage collection. Now, there's a lot of confusion in town because we have garbage collection and then we have garbage disposal, and actually in about 3 or 4 different places within our own chart of accounts. So what this will do, it'll move it from an enterprise fund, which it probably should have never have been anyways. We weren't in the business of collecting trash. With enterprise funds typically have for government a bit of a profit motive. You're trying to make money in order to do something next. So a lot of times golf courses are considered enterprise funds. They're in the business to try to make that work. So we're going to before you use a budget amendment to move that into general fund, along with the actual disposal as well. So hopefully this will clarify the actual cost of picking up and disposing of garbage and putting everything in one place. I did clarify this with the auditors, and he was in agreement that yes, this is a necessary budget amendment, and I bring it to you today.
Thank you. Motion is in order.
Mayor,
Councilmember Witt.
I make a motion to approve budget amendment number 1 to the fiscal year 23-24 budget.
Support.
Is that you? Mayor Pro Tem Dole, supported. Further comments from the table?
Mayor,
Councilmember Karafotis.
just to be clear, every city is required to do this?
Yes.
Further comments from the public? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Item 3 is just calling for a public hearing on the general appropriations and tax levy ordinance.
Mayor,
Mayor Pro Tem Dold.
to introduce the fiscal year 2024-25 general appropriations and tax levy ordinance, call for a public hearing on Monday, May 20th, 2024 at 7 p.m.
Support.
Is it Councilmember Witt? Further discussion from the table? This is just calling for a public hearing, so we'll have public comment there. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Next one is calling for a public hearing for the 24-25 water and sewer rates. Councilmember Lynch.
I move to introduce and call for a public hearing on the 2024-25 water and sewer rate ordinance to be held on Monday, May 20th, 2024, at 7 o'clock p.m.
Support.
Support from Councilmember Squires. Same thing, we're just calling for a public hearing. We'll have discussion then. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Item 5 is the City Ethics Board ordinance.
Mayor?
Councilmember Squires.
I move to approve calling for a public hearing for May 20th, 2024 for the establishment of a City Ethics Board.
Support.
Support from Councilmember Lynch. Again, this is just calling for a public hearing, so we'll have discussion there. Council, unless you have something for the attorney? Okay, there's no public comment because we'll have it at the public hearing. There's no public, it's a calling for a public hearing, so there's no discussion.
Point of clarification. So they can comment on the calling of the public hearing. They can't comment on the
Okay,
content of it, yes.
okay.
My understanding is the information's available with the clerk. Can I get a copy of that prior, or do I have to wait until after it's presented at the meeting?
You mean the draft ordinance?
Yes.
So that's about, yeah, you can come pick that up from our office, you know. Like
But the description stated we could review it at clerk's office.
Correct.
So I'm asking for a clarification if I can get a hard copy.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Item 6 is on-street sales for the American Legion Riders.
Mayor?
Councilmember Squires.
I move to grant permission to the American Legion Riders to hold their annual paper flag fundraiser on Friday, June 7th, Saturday, June 8th, and Sunday, June 9th of 2024, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the intersections of Ford and Middlebelt, Ford and Merriman, Ford and Fenoy, and Middlebelt and Warren, subject to the receipt of a valid hold harmless agreement by each participant in accordance with the city policy of on-street sales.
Support.
Support from Councilmember Witt. I have one comment just to Mr. Smith. I noticed in here they have a form for that they're a 501c. Does everybody that comes before us for these on-street sales give us that form that?
Yes, they're supposed to when they apply for the on-street sales. They should provide that documentation.
Okay, thank you. Further comments from table? From the public? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Item 12 is other business, and there's a resolution opposing House Bill 4965. Mr. Dockery, I think you and Mayor Pro Tem have something on this?
Yep, thank you, Mayor. This is Conference of Western Wayne brought this information out, and thankfully Vice Mayor Dole sent it over this morning also to asking if we could put it on the agenda tonight. It's an issue that could affect communities everywhere. It's actually in a couple of days the vote, which is why it's being rushed to the table at this moment. House Bill 4965 would specifically exempt streaming and satellite services such as Netflix, Disney+, Hulu, YouTube Video, or YouTube TV, and others from the definition of video service. So the practical effect is that they would be exempt from sharing any cost with the local community when it comes to selling their video service. The issue we have here is if they're not charged, unlike the normal organizations that are currently being charged, the FCC has a policy that, of course, everybody is treated the same. So if one is exempt from franchise fees, there's a good chance they could turn around and exempt everybody else. Currently, the city obtains about $312,000 a year in franchise fees, which could possibly be eliminated the next step if this is passed in the next couple of days. So the Conference of Western Wayne has asked the communities to put together a resolution. We have one tonight in front of you that basically says that this, is not the best interest of the community overall, and we support the not to move forward with this bill, and then that would be sent to our local representatives, state and state rep, state senator, to at least put our voice out there as all the local communities are doing right now. Vice Mayor, that was the gist of it. Yep.
Okay, motion is in order.
Mayor,
Mayor Pro Tem Dole.
I'd like to motion to approve the attached resolution opposing House Bill 4965 and directing that the resolution be transmitted to State Representative Wegala, State Senator Polhanke, and Governor Whitmer.
Support.
Support from Councilmember Lynch. Further comments from the table?
Mayor,
Councilmember Karafotis.
the city manager just talked about funds that we get already. Is that from our cable services, or are we already getting franchise fees from these streamers?
No, just currently just our current cable providers.
So they've never
So
had fees before,
I don't
and we
believe
want to add
that's-
them?
unless there's something different. I believe it's such a newer technology that government's trying to catch up and realize that, we give them a free bone and you got to go backwards and give everybody else also, so.
But it could
affects
be added
everything.
income for us.
Could be
also.
additional income if they move forward with it, yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, further comments from the table? From the public? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Item 13 is public comment, non-agenda items only. You'll have 3 minutes. And again, I'll remind everybody, no disparaging comments toward anybody. Anybody wishing to speak?
Hello, Kim from the library. I just want everyone to know that we do have our spring used book sale coming up. So it's going to be April 29th, April 30th, and May 1st from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. On Monday from 10 to 11, if you are a Friends of the Library member, you get to come in and shop early, and you can also sign up that day to come in and shop early. And it'll be located at the Garden City Library. So, hey.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Ms. Peridor.
Mayor and council, thanks. Last meeting, you guys were talking about the emails and how they aren't quite getting to you and whatever. I personally have had the problem, and I've learned I have a Gmail account and a Yahoo account. If I try and email all of you at one time, it'll bounce. It'll bounce back, and sometimes it bounces to spam. So you don't know unless you look in your spam. So what I've learned I had to do was individual. And I can do the message and then forward it 6 or 7 times. So I just wanted to bring that up because it does happen. And I also wanted to just mention common business practice. When you receive an email, you respond to it, even if it's just received, right? If you forward it to someone else, you CC the originator, or you just send the originator a message that I sent it to Susie so that they know that you've received it, that you've done something with it. So maybe that would help people feel like they were heard if they know that you've received that email and that you're looking into it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, can I comment on that?
Go ahead, Councilmember Karafotis.
I know that some residents have talked about sending in the emails, and when you do it from our website, it doesn't actually give our addresses. It just does it. Is there a reason that we can't list our emails on our website so that people can actually just send it right to us instead of trying to go through that whole system?
Well,
I mean, why don't we just have
Probably
Councilmember
some
Dole with her
for
phone?
communications to look into.
okay, yes, ma'am.
It seems like that's the issue.
I know doing it on the website allows them to send it anonymously too. So I mean, we can still leave that in place for some of the residents who might want to send something to us anonymously, but put our email there as well.
Yeah.
To allow them to message us.
Okay, thank you. I have a comment from Miss Linda Scorer. Come on up.
I looked up the responsibilities of city council, mayor, and city managers, and of all of the explanations of what your responsibilities are, one of the major things is to listen to the citizens of the city. And I find that the majority of you are not listening to us, what we say. You are so quick to add to our taxes and pass all these different millages or bonds, yet when we ask for money back or we ask for you to research things, it just kind of gets blown away. It's like it's not important to you. And that was obvious at the last meeting when we, when it was requested regarding the streetlights. That was only supposed to be temporary, and yet it just fell by the wayside. Nobody seemed to care. And now that it's brought up again, a lot of you don't want that. You don't want to give me back the money, but it's okay for you to keep taking money from the citizens. And it's the same thing with the $9 million bond, the bid, whatever it is. How can that be all of a sudden top priority? You guys passed that to get that on the ballot. I didn't hear that much discussion about it. Same thing with Radcliffe. I didn't hear a lot of discussion about it, but it sure got passed in a hurry. And when you go to buy property, wouldn't you think to have an inspection on the roof? And all of a sudden, you do all this stuff inside, but oh, now the roof is leaking. Well, wouldn't that damage all the work that you just did? That should have been a priority. And whatever grants that you got, that should have covered that. That shouldn't be falling on me again. And in the last 4.5 years, maybe 5, my taxes have gone up way over $500. You have new people coming into this city, and their taxes are over $5,000 for a 1,000 square foot house. That's almost equal to some of the properties in Plymouth. I mean, that's a deterrent for a lot of people that wanting to come in here. And it's just not, it's not right to keep passing on the wants of your, passing on the cost of what your wants are to the citizens and not giving back to any of us. You know, if you want to get grants, that's fine to cover your wants, but make sure that the city needs are covered first and we're not suffering from it. I had a question regarding the street cleaning. How often does that get done? And what is the purpose of it on streets that just have culverts on each side? So I think that all of you should think about us citizens and how much your wants are costing us.
We'll try and get you some answers. Any other comments?
Opal Loveland. I'll just piggyback on Linda a little bit. I did a whole spreadsheet. Our taxes at our residence has gone up since 2018, 24.5%. And I know other people that have the similar increase, so I just want to put that out there. And I'm going to speak again. I'm going to keep coming up here and speak about the 1.5 increase that was done on 5/4/20 during COVID on a Zoom meeting to increase the operating millage by 1.5 mils. The reason given was that the city manager anticipated a reduction in state revenue sharing during the unprecedented times of COVID. So while all of us were locked down and masked up and our businesses were closed and we couldn't go to work, 5 out of 7 council members decided it was a good time to increase the taxes. And we're still paying that. So that was 2020, it's now 2024. What's going on? You didn't have a reduction in state revenue sharing. How come nobody's talking about it? How come it didn't go down? Is this just like the lighting? It just like falls off the shelf and nobody pays any attention to it? The charter says you have to state the reason for the increase. The reason didn't happen. This should have been addressed a long time ago. Numbers weren't given. Nobody said during that meeting how much in state revenue sharing we were getting. Nobody said how much 1.5 mils would come in. So where's the discussion? Where are the numbers? How do you justify voting yes for everything that's presented to you without discussion. And Linda's right. We deserve that. We deserve people that ask us questions, listen to us, and talk about their decisions before they cast a vote. This is a democratic republic. This is still America. You guys are just like doing stuff without reaching out to the residents here. A few of you do, but not everybody. It can't be just this person's decision about everything without discussion. I hope you're going to consider this and do something about it, because we deserve it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? No more comments? City Manager's report.
All right, Mayor, just a few things. I want to thank the Mayor and City Council for their support of Erica Smith here as the next Parks and Recreation Director. Welcoming Erica to the city, I believe she is the one that we've been looking for to take the department to the next level, so welcome, Erica. Street sweeping, on the screen should be the map that we have out there right now. So this week, it's the day after your garbage is due, so we've completed the upper northwest section. Tomorrow, for anyone in the southeast section of the community, it'll be picked up or swept. The next day, we're going to the northeast. Thursday, the middle of the city, and of course, the red section on Friday. So again, that should be the day after it is picked up. There are, should be at least 3 trucks, if not more, sweeping around. The cost, I know it was originally just a couple of years ago, I don't know what the latest is, but it was about $33,000 a year for the full cleaning of the city streets 3 times. 3 times throughout the season, spring, of course, summer, fall. The option that we chose when we went this direction a few years ago was we were looking to buy a new street sweeper that was going to cost about $325,000. And street sweepers, of course, you need to pay the driver and pay for the gas and driving around the city at our additional cost over the $325,000. But you also had the damage or repairs to any machine. If anyone knows anything about street sweepers, they're like Zambonis at the ice rink. You're constantly repairing them. So we know that $325,000 was going to be a lot more. That's when we made the decision, instead of buying the street sweeper, why don't we put that money towards a contractor who can come and go as needed 3 times a year. That's why we chose the contract out. In the long run, it actually becomes a whole lot cheaper than actually purchasing the machine itself. So that's where the street sweeping company came along and where we went a few years ago. Also, just as a side note, we are looking to have an event at Radcliffe officially opening up now that several more rooms are going to be finished off very soon. Registration's being promoted for everybody for a membership, so we understand it's a free membership, of course. Understand who's in the building, whether it's an older person with children that are running around, or even the children themselves for potential damage or other issues in the community center. So people should look out for that. In the next few weeks, we're going to have an event out there for the whole community to take a tour of the facility itself. And that's it, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Smith.
Nothing tonight.
Mayor Pro Tem Dole.
Just a couple of real quick things. I would like to ask our city manager if possibly we could put together another resolution and send it in opposing DTE Energy's proposed $456 million rate increase. Also, Senator Polhanke will be hosting a coffee hour this Thursday, 6 p.m. at the Radcliffe Center. Gives the residents an opportunity to go in and talk to her about what's going on up in Lansing and receive some pretty interesting information most of the time. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Lynch.
I just have one thing. Being over at the Radcliffe Center in the exercise room quite often, I'm finding out that a lot of the seniors don't realize that Silver Sneakers program can be used over at the Radcliffe Center. If you're on Medicare and you have Medicare Advantage, or maybe possibly some of the other insurances have the Silver Sneakers, that means all you have to do is get a Silver Sneaker number, present it at the front desk, and it does not cost you anything, 0, to use the gym. And benefit to that besides using the gym and exercising, if I wanted to go to Planet Fitness, I could go there also, giving them the same number. And they just charge per visit wherever you go. So you could go to several different gymnasiums to use their exercise equipment, and it's free to the senior. So if you haven't heard about it already, please look into it, because I know I'm taking advantage of it. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Witt.
Thank you, Mayor. To piggyback a little bit on Mayor Pro Tem Dold, I do believe Senator Polhanky is also on the Energy Commission in Lansing, last I know. So make your voices heard about DTE's rate increases that constantly keep coming. Don't forget to get out and support the arts. I believe this week, since Councilmember Earl isn't here, is Little Shop of Horrors at Garden City High School. I believe the shows are Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. 7, 2, and 7. I think Sunday's 2 o'clock, and then Friday and Saturday are 7 and 7. So get out and support, the high school students that work for a very long time setting up and making the show possible. And then one question for the city manager. With the registrations at Radcliffe, is that going to include events like, say, the Great Pig Race? Are the people that show up to those events going to need to register as well to have entry?
No, that's, we're going to have it's kind of a secured area where they can't go any further throughout the building, so we generally know who's in the building. So those special occasions will be something different.
So standard business hours
Yes,
registration?
absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you. Councilmember Squires.
Yeah, just one thing. Everyone should have received their Rec Connect in the mail, and there's a lot of wonderful programs, and this was just a great job was done on this, I have to say. A lot for the kids and for the adults as well. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Karafotis.
I have quite a lot, actually. So we have one budget meeting left, and is that when we're reviewing the whole entire budget, and then we can make changes at the time if we need to?
Definitely, and even up to the final.
Okay. And then what I wanted to bring up again was Radcliffe. So we've applied and received any of the grant money yet?
Nope.
No? How come? I thought we talked about it at a budget meeting like over a month ago, and we said that it was getting done that week.
I haven't. Okay, we will be funded. It is a grant guaranteed for the building, so you put up the money as the projects could be finished, so it's not one set time, it's not one set process either, but the city will be reimbursed for that money, yes.
Okay. According to our financial reports, it says we've paid almost $700,000 at Radcliffe so far. I did ask our finance director if that was the grant money that's going to replace that, and he did say yes.
Yes.
But we still don't have a budget. Do we have like a basic plan, like in what order the projects are supposed to be getting done?
All right, well, just for clarity, the council, since we bought the building, I've done a couple of presentations here explaining where the rooms, what the money was going to be used for what rooms, what grants were being used for
Right.
what rooms, so that clearly was a
Asking
budget.
like for a
I
schedule.
know, but then recently, as our meeting at the police station, we went through where the money's coming from and what's expected to be left for the remaining rooms, as well as the gymnasium of the building itself, so gave an overview of what the budget was. In the CIP also, last meeting, I believe it was also included of the projects that are going to be done with the money that we have funded at this point. So right now, we're just waiting for the cost of the gymnasium, the cost of the roof itself, just to tweak and finalize those numbers. But it's, yes, information has been given to the council on several occasions of what the budget numbers are.
Well, I know that the grant says that the gym, the entrance, the camera, the teen tac, the plant museum, the furniture and flooring, the boilers and the HVAC are all covered under that. But it also says that things that haven't been done yet, like the roof, the renovation of the bathrooms, resurfacing of the parking lot, and doing the teaching kitchen. If we don't have a budget, how do we know that all this can be done and how much it will cost?
Well, right now, we're waiting on the final scope, as people have made a point publicly to say that we shouldn't do anything but just the roof. We can't say what we're going to do with the teaching kitchen or anywhere else yet until we understand what the final numbers are for the roof and for the gymnasium. We're hoping to tuck the roof fully into the grant itself, but the grant was originally budgeted for $500,000 for the roof. If the roof is $2 million, that grant was not designed for a $2 million roof. So we're just going through the process right now of making sure that the money is spent wisely.
I just feel like things at Radcliffe that are not covered under the grant, whether it's countertops or kitchenettes or offices, we just asked and asked, and we keep hearing that, we don't have a budget because we don't have estimates yet or quotes. But we've owned the building for over 2 years now, and a lot's been done there, a lot. We know we're getting the grant money. We should have a plan in place, so we should have everything we need to make a usable budget. I just don't understand why we just keep asking and it never comes.
We've given you information. I'm not sure what detail you want yet at this point, but we've given you information, what the rooms cost, what we've spent, where the money's coming from. I think it would be incorrect to say publicly that we have not received any numbers and have no idea
I didn't say
about
any
what's
numbers.
happening.
That's not what I said. I just feel that Radcliffe as a project, it's not being managed appropriately. Maplewood, City Hall, DPS buildings, et cetera, all have a budget for utilities. Currently, there's nothing in our budget for Radcliffe utilities. It just wasn't put in. Not for gas, not for electric, not for water. We budgeted nothing for the utilities there for the entire year. We've already paid out over $71,000 this year when it's not in our budget. When I asked why these utilities are not in our budget, I was told good estimates were not available at the time of the budget preparation. We bought the building from Schoolcraft College, who operated it for 20 years. We could have asked them for an estimate about utilities. We could have called DTE for an estimate. We supply the water there. We could have looked at our own records and said, how much have we been using there, or has Schoolcraft been using there? We didn't do any of that. We just didn't include it, not even $5,000 or $10,000. Instead, just nothing in our budget, knowing full well that we had to pay it. We can't not pay the utilities, so we did it. But we didn't even amend the budget after that. It says when you are working with the budget, if you don't have an estimate, you should amend it a few months later. We could have got bills for June, July, August, September, October, November, all the way till now. We didn't do that. That's, to my knowledge, that's not how a budget's supposed to work. I just feel that, recently we've been told that there's not enough money to replace the roof at Radcliffe, so we may need to have the residents pay for it by possibly putting it on the Parks and Rec bond.
Or out of our reserves, yes.
Or out of the funds that our taxpayers pay for.
Yes.
I know we said the condition of the roof was kind of a surprise this past winter after a bad storm. At the last meeting, we were told we're waiting on bid specs to get an estimate. Did we get those specs?
No, not at this time yet.
At the last meeting, you told us that CHI was getting those, but we called CHI. They said they're not.
No, I was told after the meeting it wasn't CHI. CHI has done other work on the roof, but they were not the ones putting the bid specs together, correct?
Who is putting the specs together?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Do we know how much
I wasn't expecting the question, Councilwoman. At this point, you could ask me in advance and we could discuss this stuff.
We've
But
asked
you're
over and
waiting,
over
you're coming to the meeting and asking me for company names. I'm not
We
not
asked
quite
last
sure.
time, and you gave the wrong information.
Yes.
Do we know how much it's going to cost?
What's going to cost for the specs together or the roof itself?
The specs.
About $14,000 putting the specs together. Yes.
So have we already signed a contract to do that?
I believe we did. The person's working on that now. It's a
That's not
professional
supposed to-
services contract.
So it doesn't
That
come in front of council?
Does not go through the
Because it's
purchasing
services?
policy because it's, yes,
Services.
professional services.
I know that recently I found a resolution that said council passed 8/3 of '23 with the service contract dated 4/25 of '23 with Collaborative in Ann Arbor that's doing our gym.
Yes, the council agreed to that company, yes.
The service agreement included the gym for $2.1 million, not $4 million. The service contract included a locker room and offices for $408,000 and a complete roof tear-off replacement for $1.1 million. During that meeting, when we passed this resolution, our city manager talked about how the roof was very old and how it needed replacing and had already been leaking. So obviously we knew about it then. This was dated last April of '23.
Correct.
During this meeting, you said...
You're missing the other grant also, by the way. It wasn't just 2.1 for the, it was 4.
That's not what I said. It said
4.2.
the service
yes.
agreement included the gym for 2.4. During this meeting, you said, quote, "This company would plan, design, produce, and create construction documents to assist the bidding process for the full construction of this project." So full construction, including the gym and the roof. As I said before, it includes the roof.
No, the project did not include the roof. The architect company is for the gymnasium and for the entrance. They weren't actually to replace the roof. That was a side item, but it was not to include the renovation of the roof.
This is a copy of it that we approved.
That's just, no, that's just over, I'm sure you're going to see language in there that says that's not a, the roof was not included because they are not actually contracted with us to actually redo the roof because that wasn't part of their, that was a proposal that you're looking at. That is not a final
It's with
paperwork.
what we...
And that's not a final number that we're going to be paying them because it's all based on what the cost of the facilities
This
are.
is what was given to council when we voted on it.
We hired the architect to design the gymnasium and the entrance. They were not hired to redo the roof for the rest of the building. They could,
I'm not saying-
but they were not hired to do that.
I'm not saying they're going to put the roof in. You said that this company would plan, design, produce, create construction documents to assist in the bidding process for the full construction of this project.
Yes, the gymnasium and the entrance.
And it says locker room and roof estimate for 1.1.
The locker rooms were part of the actual gymnasium renovation. That's still part of the gymnasium renovation.
The roof is right here. It's right on what you gave to council to look at, to approve.
But does it say they're actually putting the architect specs together for the actual roof? Because I don't believe that was part of it at all. That's not what we're
Then why
charging.
did it get presented to us like that?
This is a proposal. When they put a proposal together, right now it says that we'd be paying them how much money?
It doesn't say that. We had a whole discussion that night about the 6% and if the costs go up. It doesn't say anything about a fee for that.
Their fee is actually based on
Right, I
the
saw that.
guesstimate of what the final number would be. This is just a general proposal.
But that's what you presented to council, and that's what we voted on. So we thought then, you talked about the roof being replaced for $1.1 million. So
That was a guesstimate by them. That was not a defined final number.
they didn't inspect the roof, they didn't know anything about it, they just gave that estimate at 1.1.
That's a good guesstimate on the roof, because as we said, we thought $500,000 to touch
Did
it up.
they look at the roof? That company, or do they have a company?
They're the ones actually that contracted out originally, the company who did the heat evaluation.
Did they look at the roof? Did they have a company?
They had the company that works with them to oversee a roof. I'm not sure what you're getting at yet.
Because there's a quote on there for $1.1 million, and that's
This is
over-
not a final bid quote, I can guarantee. If that's what you're looking,
no.
you keep asking questions, but yet you say that's not what you're looking for.
You're turning it around. I'm not saying anything about them getting the bid. It says that...
This is a guess. This is an absolute guess.
Okay, but it says that they're taking care of the bids. So if we're paying them to take care of the bids, why are we doing this other company?
The bid for the gymnasium, and I think staff, we've had a number of meetings with these guys, and department heads are all in the meetings also. I believe everybody will clarify to you that there's no discussion of them putting the bids together for the entire roof. So they're not being paid to put something together for the
Then
roof.
why is it presented to us
That's a
like that?
proposal, but we're not paying them for doing that.
It
So
says
that's-
professional service fees, and then it lists
Yes.
the professional services they're
Yes,
doing.
they are not roofing experts.
I didn't say that they are.
Okay, well,
it says
we're going to roofing experts to fix the roof. That is
It says
just the
that they're doing the
proposal,
bid process, so I'm asking, why aren't they doing the bid process if it says they are?
because they're not roofing experts. That is just a guesstimate on a proposal. That is
Why was
not a
it-
final analysis.
Why was it included in it then?
I have no idea.
You
Other
gave
than
us
an
the council and you
overview,
have no
other than
idea?
an overview, I don't know what are you getting at, Councilwoman?
I want to know, make sure that we're not paying two companies. It
You are
said-
not paying two companies, I can guarantee that.
So it was presented to us that we're paying them, but...
No, you weren't. It was a proposal. We will pay them for the services that they render. They're not rendering that service. We are not paying them for
So
that
it looked like
service.
we were rendering that service, but we're actually not.
We're not, absolutely not. And every department head at all the meetings we've had
I'm not
with
asking
the
about the
company.
department heads, I'm asking what was
No,
presented
I'm saying
to
the department
council.
heads will say all the meetings we've had, because I brought everybody in on this. This isn't a project just at City Hall. We'll explain in detail that the roof is not part of anything that we've been doing, and the architecture.
So it was brought to us, but it's not actually happening. So we
It's a
approved.
proposal that if you'd like to try to use them, that's a guesstimate. But they are an architect to build a building. They are not roof bidders and...
I'm not saying it is. You said the full construction of this project, and the project included the roof, what you presented to council. If it's incorrect, then it's incorrect.
It's not incorrect. It's a proposal that if we wanted to go with them, that's a guesstimate. What you're looking at, the whole project there is a guesstimate on what they believe the price should be.
I'm
So
not
they will
holding
be
it to the
paid.
1.1. I'm holding
They
it
will
to
be
that they
paid
said they
on
were
what
doing
the
it.
price will be in the end, but that's a guesstimate.
I'm not holding it to the 1.1 price. That's
But you're
not-
saying it's incorrect information.
It's
not.
incorrect. It's saying that they're going to take care of the bidding for the roof.
They could. That's their proposal.
They could.
We're not using them.
Okay.
No calls from the
Okay.
audience. sir.
The other thing I want to bring up was the renters at Radcliffe.
Yep.
From the beginning, we said that the rent payments would help with the expenses and the utilities at Radcliffe and make it self-sufficient for our bills, that kind of thing. So I want to ask you, is the city collecting all the rent from all the renters?
We still have back pay on one of them. The 130,000, which by the way, you had mentioned earlier, the utilities are 70,000. The contracts with our renters is for 180,000.
Yeah, but are
So
they
as
paying
we've
that?
said, as people say that it's a money pit and it's costing the city, we actually make money by not even opening up the front doors. So we have back pay due on one of the companies who has been paying correctly at this point. Expected a check supposed to be delivered us tomorrow morning, and he may still have some back pay that's owed.
How much does he owe?
After tomorrow, it should be about 30,000.
So as of today, he owes 30,000. Why did we let
No, he
him?
owes 50,000 at this point.
Why did we let him
being cut
get so
tomorrow.
far behind?
We've been working on it, trying to make sure. He had owed $200,000 for the renovation of the building itself. The rooms that he renovated, that was a debt to Schoolcraft that was owed. So we gave him some leniency on knowing they're going to end up paying us. It's not a question that they're going to take off on us. So,
I don't think he's going anywhere.
no, we worked with him, and at this point, he's been paying the monthly fee at this point, and tomorrow is supposed to be a big check delivered tomorrow.
How much is his monthly rent?
It's $50,000 a year. It's,
So he hasn't paid
I
us
haven't
in a
seen
year?
the check in a while.
He hasn't paid
I
us
haven't
in a
seen
year?
the contract in a while. Hasn't.
You
the
said he
fir-
owes $50,000.
The first year he ended up paying a month or two, and I gave him a grace period.
Okay. I just feel like all these issues at Radcliffe, they're just mounting up. The rent, the roof, the utilities, the grant money. We need to figure out something better. This is not being managed properly. It's just not. I'd like to make a motion that we stop spending at Radcliffe till we figure it out. We need a plan and we need a budget. We need to know why our rent's not getting paid there. We need to know why the utilities aren't in the budget. That's not how it's supposed to run.
We have one renter.
2 renters we have.
The other one's paid 130. Yeah,
Yeah, we
they've
have
been.
2 renters and we haven't got rent from
Right,
another one
but
for a year.
only one's behind, and
Only 1 out of 2. That's our tax dollars that are paying for this. That's a big
that
deal.
we're going to get.
Yes.
Well, you've been saying that for a
You
year.
just said yourself that you don't see them leaving.
Why would he? He doesn't have to pay for it.
No.
I mean, we're not
Okay.
getting the rent we're supposed to. We're not even budgeting our utilities. That makes no sense. Utilities that we're in charge of, like the water, we could have estimated that. We could have made one phone call to DTE and said, how much does it cost for Schoolcraft to pay you per month? We didn't do it at all.
Did Schoolcraft have everything that we have?
Mark, it could have been $1. We could have estimated $5,000 and Schoolcraft could have paid $8,000. This is April. The budget's been since last year. We could have had an estimate from every month the last 8 months and amended the budget like we were supposed to, and we have not. We're supposed to amend our budget when we don't know what something costs. When we find out what it costs, we should put it in the budget. And we're not doing those things. We're
Okay.
not.
Well, you made a motion. Is there support for that?
I support the council member's motion. I think there should be a temporary hold on things until we get answers. We've been asking for a budget, a line item budget for months and months. You have given us some information, but never this is how much we're going to spend on this room, this is how much we're going to spend on this room. It's just kind of been a willy-nilly. We'll design this room and we'll spend whatever it costs to complete it, and then there you have it. And I think it should be a temporary hold until we get additional information.
Okay. Further comments from the table?
If you do hold council just for your vote here, just be aware that it's grant money that we're using. If we're not using the grant money, I believe it was even mentioned at the budget meeting that there's a deadline to use the money or lose it. So
We're asking for a temporary hold on a budget. You can have that to us in a week.
everything stops.
I don't think the deadline for spending the grant money is in a week, though, is it?
Isn't
How long
October
does it take
25?
to get us that? There's only certain things left that we're going to be
Yes.
doing with the grant money, correct?
How much detail are you looking to? Because I already gave you the overview of what we have left in the grant money and where the money is expected to be used.
It's not
So-
just the grant money, though. It's other money. How much did the card room cost? How much did the Parks and Rec room cost? How much did the office cost? How much did the granite countertop cost? There's lots of things that the grant's not covering that we spend money on. We just want to know how much money have we spent there and on what. And we've asked and asked, and we get the overview. We have $6 million. We're going to spend this amount of money on the teen tech room. We get all that stuff, but there's lots of other stuff that goes on there that we don't have any idea unless we comb through the financials, and then we see, oh, we just spent $5,000 on this. We just spent $5,000 on that. We're just asking, what else are we going to do and how much is it going to cost, whether it's grant money or our money?
Further comments from the table? From the public?
This is, what's that?
The motion as made by Councilmember Karafotis is to put everything at Radcliffe on hold, temporary.
So just so we have a clarity on the motion. So we're going to motion to approve a temporary hold on spending at Radcliffe Center until,
Until we get a budget or a plan. Could be tomorrow, it could be a week. I mean, our grant money doesn't have to be used until October 25, correct? City manager, it's October 25.
We have, I believe, something on October 24 is a preliminary, but 25 is the final deadline.
Right, if we have a
yes.
plan, if you know the
Correct.
gymnasium's coming, well, they'll give us that time.
Well, that all, yeah.
Well, it couldn't be till tomorrow because we'd have to have another council meeting to, right? Correct? 'Cause
So what we can do
you
is-
can't- You couldn't, it couldn't be indefinite, obviously, because tomorrow, if we got everything we needed, we still couldn't lift it because the motion, we'd have
yes,
to.
so what I would think we could do is you could make the motion to approve a temporary hold on spending at Radcliffe Center until council's provided with a budget of Radcliffe spending. Once council's provided with that budget, at a future council meeting, council can make a motion to lift the hold on spending.
So I have a question with this. Would halting spending at Radcliffe
Stop everything.
stop all payments to our employees that work out of that
No.
building?
I hope not.
I just want to make sure it's,
Your contractor will stop, your collaborative for the architect will stop, everything stops. Because they're not going to continue working if they don't know if they're getting paid.
Mr. Murray.
That was pretty rude, you know that? I asked what the motion was, and all of a sudden I get shoved around.
Mr. Smith just told you what the motion was.
Then these two gentlemen had a conversation, I had the table.
Do you have a
No,
comment?
the point is I'm going to ask you to put a hold on the gymnasium because the roof has to be done first. You're looking at 40 years. That roof is how old? It has to be 100% replaced. And why did you not have outside contractors come look at it? You mean you have Fireball and Reynolds, Schreiber, these are sheet metal roofing contractors that replace that stuff all the time. I think we have a major problem, and Ms. Cotabotis, you've tried, you've asked questions of this man, just like the contract for there. Was it turnkey? What was it? Can we just stop that immediately? What is the programs of construction management in this town? And Jay Lee, it goes all the way back to the downtown debacle of what? It's 10, 15, 18 million dollars? We do not have any policy in this town. And that's how long ago? So when are we going to get people to get their act together? Again, Stacy, thank you. Kim for making that motion.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Mayor Pro Tem Dole.
I want to clarify a little bit and give an example. So I know on the grant, one of the things that we're supposed to be doing is making our restrooms ADA accessible.
One of the options of the grant, yes, not mandatory, just so we're clear. That's a scope of work that could be included in the grant, but does not have to absolutely be done, correct?
Oh, be that as it may, what I am looking for is moving forward, okay? Personally, I think the bathroom should be made ADA I'm not a huge person, and I try to walk in that doorway, which is about this wide. There's no way a wheelchair is getting in there. That's all beside the point. What I'm asking for is, if that's the project, what is going to be done? Are we getting new stalls? Are there going to be new toilets in there? We're widening the doorways. What are those costs associated with that? And it may not be the bathrooms. I'm just using that as an example. So whatever else we're looking at doing moving forward into Radcliffe, Radcliffe's a beautiful building. I'm not saying it's not. The work that's been done there is fantastic. However, when I hear that we've just spent some of the monies that have been spent on some things over there, it really makes me wonder how we're going to manage to do all of the work that we need to do over there with the monies that we have, and I don't think we're going to be able to. So that's what I've asked for all along, is as we move forward doing the project, you know what the project's going to be. Why aren't we getting a budget for that project?
Because I think we're going in two different directions here, once again. What is the cost of the gymnasium and entrance? What is the cost of the roof? I think it's very clear that people in this room included are saying, do the roof no matter what. How much is left for the bathrooms? We don't quite know what the roof cost is. So as I've said many times, We need to get the final numbers from the architect for the bid process of what the gymnasium's going to cost and the entrance. What is the roof also going to cost? Right now, to say, well, let's put that aside, if we did the full restrooms and the full boiler system and all that, here's some numbers, but it really means nothing until we know exactly what the gymnasium's going to cost and what the roof is going to cost. But you put a moratorium on those, we're not going to find out what anything costs. So we're back to the pickle of, you want a budget of details on those things. We can put those together, but we don't know if we're ever going to get to them because the original budget was $500,000 out of the grant. If it's $1 million, $1.5 million, $2 million, we're not getting around to the teaching kitchen and some of those other things, because if 100% of this building must be done with grant money, which, how wonderful that these buildings are being done with grant money, the fire station, the police station, and Radcliffe, all grant money. It's tough to put a bid together to say, or to the council, exactly what these rooms are going to cost, if I don't even know if we're going to get to them at this point. I could break it out for you, but it won't mean much because we still don't know what the cost of the gym and the entrance is going to be, the roof. If we said we're not concerned about the entire roof being redone in this grant money, well, then we'd say $500,000. So all we got to figure out is what the gym is. But if the council's position and the citizens' position is 100% of that roof must be done under the grant, we don't have that information yet to actually answer the question. But I can tell you, we're not going to be able to do all those side projects if you're going to move from $500,000 to potentially $2 million. That's a lot of money for a grant that was not expecting to have $1 million to $1.5 million out of it.
All right,
Mayor?
well, there's a motion on the floor.
I see a simple solution. Forget about the gym. Yeah. Fix the building that's there. We're getting way out of hand. Nobody wants the gym. Nobody. We got a gym at the high school. We got a gym in that building. Renew the gym that's in the building at 1/3 of the cost. It's simple. Listen to your residents.
Mayor, it just seems like, as our city manager just explained it, about we're waiting for the gym bid, we're waiting for the roof bid, and then we're going to get these things, then there may not be enough money to do all the other things. I think the bathrooms, the roof, the parking lot, those are important things. I don't understand why we're making the gym the most important thing that there is, and then everything else just goes to the wayside. If we don't have money for this, it's because we need it for the gym. If we don't have money for this, we need it for the gym. Let's put the focus on everything that we put in the grant and that we thought we were doing, because now we may not even do the bathrooms. That's in the grant. We all saw the paperwork. So it just seems like our focuses are in different areas.
I guess, council, it should be said that the reason we got the grants was because of the gymnasium. I don't believe we got millions of dollars of grant money to put a boiler in and fix the bathrooms. I think we can all admit that the gym was a significant part of the support that we received from the county and from our Congress.
Having heat isn't more important than the gym?
Excuse me?
Having the boiler and the air conditioning?
No, that's how we got the money for the grant. The grant was not in just asking for a boiler, but
Right now, we're on to the motion that was made to put this on hold.
Still on public comments.
That's the discussion right now. Yes.
First off, I do want to say, I think that Councilmember Zach's comment or question earlier, right before the public comments, I thought that was a very fair question. I thought that was a very good one. I do agree with a lot of the things Mr. Murray says and what he said when he was up here. I don't agree with the being upset about that portion of it. I thought that was a very good question. But I do want to know, because my understanding of what Stacy had said was it sounded like she was saying, can we put a pause on us, the city council, voting on more things being added to this until we can figure out what exactly our scope is, what we're able to do. So from my understanding then, I guess, Mr. City Manager, is that you're saying that if we do not do the gymnasium, we might have the grant money taken away or have to pay it back. Is that what is being stated, or am I misunderstanding? Because I wanted to know, do we absolutely have to do that gymnasium in order for this grant to move forward? Because I don't understand why we are so fixated on it when it seems like there are other more important pressing issues. And I'm perfectly fine with putting any kind of spending, just kind of tabling it for a little bit, putting a pause, because I just feel like there's a lot of confusion going on with a lot of the information with there. Even just with the roof on its own, I've heard well, we were completely surprised because there was a storm, but also we had an assessment that it was done and it was a flat roof. So of course it was going to happen and it didn't surprise us. And so we don't even know if it was a surprise or if it was expected or if we knew about it a year ago. So I'm just very confused about everything that's going on and would really like to have that information properly laid out for us before we move forward. I understand we have big lofty goals. I understand a new gymnasium would be great, but I think things like ADA compliant bathrooms, a new roof, and the teaching kitchen are fantastic things that are a little bit more important than a brand new gymnasium right now, when we could put that on the back burner and maybe look into doing some sort of bond down the road or something for that, instead of having to use the grant money on it and then dipping into tax money in order to get the ADA bathrooms and the roof. But I could be completely misunderstanding something because I don't know everything, but that's why I'm asking. So I just, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Lynch.
The problem I have with the motion is there are projects that are being worked on right now that might be 9/10 of the way done, might be halfway done, whatever. I don't think it's fair to ask for those projects to stop. Now, asking for new projects not to start, that's a whole different story. But the projects that are in process right now, I think need to continue and go from there. I mean,
According to our city manager, all these things are being done, and he's given us a budget numerous times. So maybe it doesn't have to be very long because he can just put it all together. I mean, we should know where all our money's been spent. How hard is it to make a list and say, this is what we spent on these rooms, and this is what I want to spend on these rooms? It can't be that difficult. I'm not saying, gee, let's not open the teen tech room. That's not what I'm saying. But we need to have an idea where our money's going. And we don't have it right now because we don't know why we're not getting paid rent. We don't know why we're not putting things in our budget like the utilities. There's a lot of things wrong there. We need to do something about it.
but if ED Sports is 2 things away from being opened, I don't want to stop something that is 2 things away from being opened that we can be utilizing.
We're still going to get, part of the budget that you're going to receive from staff is going to include a guesstimate on the roof, a guesstimate on the gymnasium, and that's what we've been saying for the last couple of months.
How long does it take for the roof specs? This is going on how many months now?
When you put that big of a roof on there, you're talking a couple $1 million. They have to have a real detail. You don't just say, we want a roof on here, can someone bid it?
But how long does it take, though?
The specs, it could take months. It took us months to get the management audit done tonight. We all know
that's totally
things are not done that quickly.
Specs do not take 3 months. We asked this in February.
I didn't say it was going to take 3 months, but I said we're going through the process now. But again, you're asking for a week from now a budget of information that you have received already, and it's still going to be a guesstimate on those other things.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that it can't be a guesstimate.
It's going to be a guesstimate. We can tell you that.
Okay.
You can't tell us how much we spent on each room so far?
No, you're asking about what the budget is. The roof, we don't know what the roof's going to be. We don't know what the gymnasium's going to be. We're back in the circle of the pickle, as I mentioned earlier.
All right,
so if you want a full budget, a detail.
I've asked for a full budget several times, yes.
Yes, and you've received the information that we have, that this is just the last budget meeting we had at the police station. We went through the detail. Mayor?
We've got the motion. Council, are there any other comments here? We'll go to the public and then we'll take the vote. Okay.
I just think it's a responsible thing to do. There are far too many unknowns. There's far too many incidents in this town that are not being addressed the way the charter states are supposed to be. And I've already written to the state of Michigan to ask for oversight for our local government. So I urge you to do the right thing and get your act together, because there's some serious problems. There's some real serious problems here. I think it's the right thing to do. Just put a temporary pause and get the budget in writing, a full-blown budget, not an overview, not general information given. It needs to be in writing. I attended a seminar with the Attorney General last week. She said, get everything in writing. So I'm sure she expects the local government to have their things in writing too. Please do the right thing.
Hi, Brian Mercenac, Treasurer. Councilwoman, I would kindly request you amend your motion to include capital spending. It's a little vague, and we have to do what you guys propose, and depending on how people interpret suspend spending, we need a little more direction than just that. So capital spending are those projects which you are talking about.
Can I amend the motion to include capital spending then? Thank you.
Okay, any other comments from the public? Okay, can you read the motion again so we can vote?
This is a motion to approve a temporary hold on capital spending at Radcliffe Center until council has provided a budget for Radcliffe spending.
Okay, can you take a roll call, please?
Councilmember Karafotis?
Aye.
Councilmember Dold?
Aye.
Councilmember Lynch?
No.
Councilmember Witt?
Aye.
Councilmember Squires?
No.
Mayor Jacobs?
No.
Motion fails.
Okay, Councilmember Karafotis. Councilmember Karafotis, do you have any more comments?
No, that was it.
Okay. Mr. Bennett, I missed you. Did you have any comments? Thank you. I have a couple things. First, I want to congratulate GCYA on their current classic this weekend. I happened to stop by Saturday and Sunday at City Park. I believe they had close to 80 teams from all over the state, out of state, Canada, and it was a full house. And kudos to Joe Bandy, the president, all his volunteers. We had our rink supervisor, Mike Downey, helped out as he takes care of most of the fields. So that was an awesome event. I want to congratulate Ms. Smith again on our new Parks and Rec, being our new Parks and Rec director. And a couple of kudos going out to our police department and our fire department. Police department, a couple instances where they went out of their way. I know one officer did some work for a resident after his shift in locating some stolen equipment, property. So they went above and beyond. The fire department, I don't know if anybody read about it, but firefighter Corey Butler had an 18-month-old baby that he performed CPR on for a little bit, and they brought him back. I know he's in the hospital still, but I think it's commendable that they were able to do the CPR and prevent him from worse things. To the resident, the park bond, that's going to the residents to vote. There's 27,000 residents. That's not the council voting on it. That's council putting it on the ballot so you guys can make that decision. That's not us forcing anything on anybody. As far as how high our taxes are for people moving in, that's because the taxes are becoming uncapped. Well, really? Okay. But anyways, with that, I have nothing else. This meeting is adjourned.